When we talk about balance and trying to navigate it all, you and I know how important a village is. Now, you're blessed because you got your mama there with you, but what would you say to the woman who feels like she doesn't have support? How important is it for her to get support?
There was someone that was mentoring me early on, and she said, make a list of everything that only you could do. Yes. And then make a list of things that anybody could do. And so many times our lists are filled with things that anybody could do, and we never get to the things that only we could do, that God called us specifically and authentically to do. And so really the power of delegation. It doesn't have to be someone you know. It might be a company. It might be something that costs very minimally. But letting go of that control, relinquishing some things and saying, not being that person that says, if I want to get it done, I'll do it myself.
Yes.
No, sometimes somebody else needs to do it.
Look, that changed my life. All your mentorship has blessed me because that changed my life when you said that. And so when we break that down, I don't have to be the one pushing the vacuum cleaner. If I can now that I got my girls old enough, they can push the vacuum cleaner so that I can be available for some things I can't delegate for my man.
All right.
So let's go on to this conversation. So you've recently written a new book, and I could do a cartwheel. I'm so excited about it, and I could just go on and on. But let's talk about the book. It's called Enoughness.
Yes.
Tell us about it.
I'm so excited because throughout our lives, even when we have the best support, there are echoes and things that dig into us that tell us we are not enough. You're not wife enough. You're not mom enough. You're not small enough, tall enough. You don't look good enough. And I've come as on a divine assignment to come against all of that, to say God has given you everything you need to be exactly who you need to be for him in your current state, as is, on the as is table. I'm about to stand up and preach.
Yes, she's a preacher. Yes.
But right now where you are, because we have this concept of if only. If I lose 30 pounds, if I get married, if I get single, you know, whatever you're not, we kind of get that if only. But no, right now, you have the enoughness to be what God's called you to be. He's just waiting on a yes.
And what I love about that is whether it is someone in corporate America, you have been in the trenches with women in corporate America, women in churches, women who are living on the sidelines of a basketball court. Y'all like that? Churches, corporate. See, I know you like the C's. And so you've been with these women who are over the span of life. And it's not just a single mother, or it's not just someone who's struggling financially. It's across the board, people struggle with this. Have you found that to be the case?
Absolutely. No matter what you have, no matter what you have access to, we all deal with the digs that the enemy wants us to feel like we are not enough in some area. And whatever that area you're feeling lack, the enemy wants to magnify that and get you caught up. And I call it the limitations of lamentations. Lamenting about what you're not when you are enough already.
Okay, so what would you say? Give me a couple of tips that you would say to somebody, because they're hearing us say this, T, but they're still thinking, but you don't know my particular situation. And so what would we say to a woman who's saying, I just don't feel like I have what it takes. I want to start that business, but I got to go back to school. Or I want to do this, but first I have to do that. What would you say to her? What is a takeaway for her?
I think the initial yes. Just the yes. Like, you don't have to know the entire process, but that initial step of yes, that entry point to just say, God, I don't know how this will end, but let me just start with this initial yes. And I like calling it the Goldilocks effect. Goldilocks gets a bad rep for breaking and entering, but actually they didn't have the door locked. And so she just walked through open doors. And so I heard Naomi Campbell once say, someone asked her, when did she decide to become a supermodel? She said she never decided. She just kept walking through open doors. And so sometimes it's not you deciding to be that end thing. It's that you are willing to walk through the open door. Esther did not have the pedigree, the background to be royalty, to be queen, to save a nation, to save a race of people. But she walked through the open door and had the enoughness to show up as an orphan, the enoughness to show up for the opening, for the casting call as queen. And so it was still a year process before she got the yes to the crown, but she went through the 6 months of that preparation and the additional 6 months of the next preparation on a maybe, on a possibility.
That's so
not
good.
knowing for sure. And so sometimes you just have to have the courage, the enoughness to show up on what could possibly, maybe gonna happen.
But see, I love that. One of the reasons why you and I hold each other's hand through our journey of life, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute, is because we understand, and I don't think everybody gets, that the full picture isn't seen when you take the first step. And I think if we could help women understand that you may not know how it's fully going to develop, like, people can look at us and think that all the things are working out perfectly, but it's a lot of behind the scenes that we're trying to work through, right?
Absolutely.
Yes. Okay, so let me ask you this. You and I are both married to very big visionaries, T. What are we going to do, girl? We are married. So I have been married 18 years and you've been married?
22.
22 years. So how do you then balance all of this gifting that God has given you, all of these dreams that God has given you, while supporting a husband like mine who has a brand new idea every other weekend?
Right. I often describe my husband as a person who jumps and thinks about how we're going to deal with it later.
Yes.
He just jumps first.
That is mine too.
And so, you know, our strengths can become our weaknesses. Our weaknesses can be our strengths. So his weakness of not knowing the next thing is also his strength of being like with childlike faith.
Yes.
But as I have also dreams in my own life, I describe it as double dutch.
Yes.
And so you see these ropes turning and you're like, okay, I think I could jump in now. Let me jump in and do my part.
Yes.
Okay, I can get this done, I can get this done. Okay, now they need me again. Okay, so I'm gonna jump out. And so the ropes never stop turning. The ideas never stop coming.
Yeah.
But you just gotta have to figure out how to jump in, do what you can while you can, and jump out. And so it's a timing thing. And it may not just be this, you have 6 months just to do you. No.
Exactly. Absolutely not.
You get the jumps in where you can.
Yeah. Okay, so let me ask you this. When you think about enoughness, when we think about balance, how important, we talked a little bit earlier about the crowning of Miss World, but really, how important is your tribe, the people that are in your ear?
I am so blessed to have a tribe that our field is full of go-getters and not go-sitters, right? And so I think when you have haters around you, what we call haters, I know some people like that word, some people don't.
Yeah.
Hateration comes from a lack of participation in your own purpose.
Wait, stop. That's so good. You got to really explain that.
Yeah, hateration comes from a lack of participation in your own purpose. And so nobody who is fully diving into their own purpose has time to hate.
Yes.
Has time to go through Insta stalking. Has time to do any of that. I'm just trying to make it down my list that God has given me in the appointed time that I have on this earth.
Yes.
And so you just have to pray for those people who kind of nitpick and try to get you to lower the lid of your life and say, well, you're doing too much and you're not doing enough. So you have to really pray for them to say, wow, it's something void in their lives that's making them be threatened by you being fearless. And a lot of times we're in situations where people are wondering why we do things without permission. And if you got God's stamp, you don't need people's permission.
If you have God's stamp, you don't need people's permission. Okay, all this conversation is so good. Now, when we talk about tribe and having these people that support you, I know sometimes you have to remind me, you have to tell me, Robin, you got it going on, and I'll have to tell. We like to say that we're each other's Oprah and Gail, and we just take turns. When you start to feel down, like even in your own journey right now, when you start feeling overwhelmed and you don't feel like you're enough, T, what do you do personally to get yourself back up?
You know, I love music, right? And so I believe there's power in a playlist. If you have a playlist, a soundtrack that can echo God's word and what he said about you, and it may not be a gospel song, I'm every woman. You need to know you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. Whatever that is, and it's personal. A soundtrack is personal. A playlist is personal. You can't, my theme song may not bless you, and yours may not bless me, but you need to have something powerful that you can listen to that pumps you up, amps you up, just like a boxer going to the ring.
Yes, I love that, ladies. You have got to get your playlist together. Thank you, T, for being in the living room with me.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm so proud of you. Congratulations on all God is doing in your life.
Thank you, sister. Ladies, I told you this was going to be a great conversation.